Hey friend, most people chase money, but the top 1% follow something deeper. These are my 9 wealth principles that have guided every major decision I've made, and they're the same ones that I see some of the millionaire clients I work with use every day. If you want wealth and peace of mind, this is where I'd start. Let's dive in. Principle number 1, money is not the reward. For my business, money's not the reward, and it's never been the reward. First, I would do what I do for free if I could. I thoroughly enjoy it. Second, the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money, I said love of money. And there's a scripture on that too. So knowing that, I want to stay far away from the love of money. And then number 3, there's a scripture in Luke that says, even when a person has an abundance, his life does not result from the things he possesses. Anything that money can get you is going to be a material possession. What happens when you die? It's gone. What happens if you have $100 million and you lose all of it? Does that make you a different person? No, it doesn't. Do people treat you differently? Some people might, but that's on them, not on you. I say all of this because at my company, when I'm working with someone, I really want to see them get into a better overall position in their life and with their finances. And if I get to be a part of that and help them improve their life, that's the reward. I think that money often magnifies intent or motive. Think of it this way. If someone's motive is greed, money is ultimately going to corrupt them. Whereas if someone's motive is service and helping others, money can compound that person. So whenever working with someone, instead of thinking, how can this make me money? Instead, I would think, how can I help this person? And then how can I add value to their life with my knowledge, skills, and area of expertise? Again, if you do the right thing, the money will come. Principle number 2, generosity is wealth in motion. A core principle that I reflect on a lot is based on a scripture in Acts that says there's more joy in giving than there is in receiving. Over the years, I've seen some people make a lot of money. But the thing is, in many cases, those people are not as happy as they were before they had all of the money. A lot of times I see them stressed out, they're bitter, and they might even start to show signs of greed. In those cases, what I usually do not see is them applying the principle of being generous or giving to others. Whereas on the other side of things, some of the happiest people I know might not have a lot of money, but they are generous and they're sharing what they have with others. And this is often especially true if they see anyone in need. They're giving of their time, resources, and even of their money, especially if they can help someone out. I'll give you an example of a generous person. A generous person might see someone in need. Let's pretend they see someone who has $50,000 in debt. And this generous individual pays the $50,000 debt for them, and they do so without saying a word to anyone. The person who had their debt paid might not even know who did it. Think about that. The generous person didn't need any credit for the good deed they performed, no announcements, nothing. They helped simply because they wanted to help. Have you ever had the chance to help someone like that? If you did, it probably made you happy. And ask yourself this, would you do it again if you had the chance? If yes, there's your answer. You see, a lot of times I think what we think is that big homes, cars, gourmet restaurants, or just a big pile of cash is going to make us happy. But then we keep going down that path for years and we don't get any happier. Usually, it ends up being the opposite. When you can finally break that attachment to money, a lot of times you free yourself from what we call lifestyle anxiety, and then you're a lot happier. Now, this is not easy to do overnight. It usually does take some time, but you can also start small. For example, the next time you're out with a friend who might buy you lunch all the time, you know what you could do? Buy them lunch. Something as simple as that. It's not going to make you upset. In fact, you'll experience the happiness that comes from giving instead of receiving. All right, principle number 3, delayed gratification. Several years ago, I heard about the marshmallow experiment. Loved it the first time I heard this story. So this was a test that was done at Stanford University in 1970. There were kids who were put in a room with a marshmallow and told, you can eat the marshmallow now, but if you wait 15 minutes, you can have 2. So those who waited 15 minutes got 2 marshmallows. So wheat. So years later, they actually came back and surveyed all of the kids in that study, those who ate the marshmallow right away and those who waited. The kids who waited were doing better in almost every area of life. They scored higher on their SATs. They graduated with more degrees. They even had a lower body mass index. It's amazing, isn't it? What's the lesson here? The lesson is that if we can delay our gratification, we can have a much larger reward later. Here's how I often look at this. With my business, things sometimes take a lot longer than I'd like. In some situations, I'm like, come on, man, why isn't this working? Or why is it taking so long? But in those moments, I reflect on this marshmallow experiment and tell myself, Steve, be patient, don't lose focus. Every great business you know of went through a ton of pain, a ton of frustration, and then finally, when they thought it wasn't going to work, they broke through. Just don't quit, keep working hard. So how I apply this is that if an opportunity pops up that looks like a good opportunity, and man, it looks like it can generate some fast cash to maybe solve a problem right now, but it's not part of the core business, I'll say no. I have to delay that gratification for the long-term reward that my main business will produce. So here's how you can apply this personally if you're investing, for example. With your money, call it one mission, and put away all other distractions and stick to that mission. For example, if I said to you, hey, I know somewhere where you can put your money and over the next 50 years, it's gonna compound between 8 and 10%. Would you wanna put your money there? Yeah, it's called the S&P 500. You can look at the history of it. Okay, principle number 4, treat others how you want to be treated. So this is actually based on my favorite scripture found in Matthew 7, verse 12, the golden rule that says, do to others as you would like done to you. I try to apply this verse with everything. When I'm working with prospects and clients who tell me about their goals, they express their concerns, they have problems, or maybe they even have a complaint against my company, what I always try to tell myself is, what if I was in their position? And then craft my response or solution based on that. I also think of the scripture with my team. For example, if I'm having a not so good day and I'm annoyed or irritated about something, what I always try so hard to do is not put that on them. For example, I might assign them a project and they send the work to me and it's not correct. They say, I don't know what to do. In my mind, I'm thinking, we've done this multiple times together. You even have video recordings on it, like you should know this by now. But if I react like that, that would be wrong. So instead of saying, come on, man, how can you not know this by now? Instead, I'll try to say, you know what? Thanks so much for sending this. Here's what I would do. Here's a resource that I like to reference when I'm working on this kind of project. I know this stuff is hard to remember. It's all good. I forget things all the time too. You see, I used to work for people who would belittle me, call me an idiot, and things a lot worse than that. And what it did is just make me feel really, really bad about myself. And guess what? I don't work for those people anymore. Some of those people were extremely skilled individuals, but I don't think they treated their employees and peers the way that they would want to be treated. The thing is, I don't want to treat my team that way, and I never want them to think that I think little of them. Eventually, they're going to develop the skill set to fulfill their role. But if I'm a jerk to them all the time, they're not gonna use those skills to help me in my company. They're gonna either A, use them to help someone else, or B, start their own company. Because that's exactly what I did because I didn't like the way I was treated for some of the people that I worked for. And then lastly, I try to apply this principle in my personal life with Tara, my family, and also my close friends. Everyone, really. The thing is, if you treat others how you want to be treated, over the long haul, you are going to do well. It's that simple. People make money and lose money, the market changes, and things happen that are outside of your control. But if you stay consistent and simply treat people right, it's going to leave a long-term impression on others, and this will result in people staying loyal to you and also trusting you. So when you're speaking with someone, before answering a question, think, what if I were them? How would I want this news delivered to me? If it's an answer where you're giving good news, that's easy. If it's an answer where you're giving them bad news, that's where this principle is probably going to help you the most. Principle number 5, be honest above everything else. Now this one seems obvious, but it can be hard sometimes. I remember when I first partnered with our private equity firm. Within the first year, I noticed on our profit and loss statement a big expense that was shared between me and our private equity partner. I saw it and I'm like, that don't look right. Let me look into this more. So what I found was a $30,000 property tax bill that was booked under the company they had invested in, where it should have been booked under my real estate company, which they had not invested anything into. So what's that mean? They were paying for an expense that was not theirs. So what we did was confirm the mistake and then also checked all past statements to look for additional mistakes, and then went to the PE firm and I immediately said, guys, here's what we found. It's $30,000. I'm so sorry. Here's the money back. And then moving forward, we'll make sure everything is clean. And I think it was really important that we found that first instead of them finding out about it later. So think of it. Short term, did that hurt me financially? Yeah, it did. But what if I was dishonest and said to myself, hey, they never noticed. Maybe they'll never notice because this stuff is so complex. Well, first, that'd be messed up. But then second, if they ever did find out, are they ever gonna trust me again? No, you gotta be honest. You see, sometimes I think that dishonest people do get ahead faster. And I've even seen some people say and do things in my business, in my industry that is, that I would never do, and they make a lot more money than me in a much, much shorter period of time. But the thing is, I never see them stay ahead. If you're honest in all things, you are going to do well in the long game, both from a money standpoint, and you'll also have a good reputation, which is worth a lot more than money. Being honest is easy, both in your personal and business life. Here's what I would do. First, always tell the truth and do so quickly. Second, admit mistakes early and apologize when needed. And third, fix what is yours to fix. Okay, principle number 6. Your word is a financial asset, and if your word isn't solid, nothing will be. This is also based on a scripture found in Matthew. It's in chapter 5, verse 37. And I'll share a quick story on this one. So when I started my business, I had no clue what I was doing many years ago. I would recruit agents and I said, hey, I'll give you 50% of the commission for policies you sell up front and 50% of the renewal commission. I did this because I saw companies that I used to work for do the same thing. So I'm like, that's what the industry does. I'll just do that. Here was the big problem. The policies that were sold were based on leads that I would produce, meaning I would create the video content and the marketing material. So I was putting a lot of time into it. I was also spending money on staff. I also spent money on the entire customer acquisition process. And then I would also help those agents sell and service those policies. So the 50% case share we would give them was just way too much. Now, I later learned that that 50% share often works if the other individual is bringing the business to the company. So as a result of that mistake, I lost millions of dollars because I did it for several years, but that's okay. I learned a lot through that. Now, what happened was the business got to a point where it couldn't handle that anymore. And business mentors told me, that's not gonna work for you. Like, you need to make a change. And I knew it too. So I felt sick to my stomach, even thinking of making this change. And the reason why is because I thought that everyone thought that I was going to make that change for my own benefit. Hey, let's reduce your share so the company gets more. I own the company. I thought they were gonna think, hey, this greedy pig is just trying to take everything for himself. And what was always in my mind was, let your yes mean yes. The business was going backwards though. So I felt trapped, just being stuck in this situation. So I did change it, but first I let them know that we were going to change it, why we were changing it, and then when the changes would go into effect. And we've changed it multiple times over the years as we've had to. The big thing though is sticking to an agreement and only making those changes and moving forward with them if everyone agrees to them. That's the big piece right there. Whenever we make a change, what we do now is put in writing, this structure is subject to change. We will adjust if we need to. Because the one thing I've learned is things always change. They always have, and they always will. So what I've learned is I can't lock myself into a certain structure and just stay there even if it hurts the business. Like, you can't do that. That's bad business. So this is not easy to do. But to get back to the core principle, if you're upfront with the people that you're working with or getting into business agreements with, they're going to trust you. Be upfront, communicate. Because if you don't communicate or make someone feel or suspicious that you're being dishonest, you think they're going to work with you? No, they're not. So if you're in an agreement with someone and things aren't working out, I would do one of two things. One, stick to it anyway. Or two, talk to the person. Let them know that it's not working and see if you can both agree on any adjustments that make things mutually beneficial. That's what I would do. Okay, principle number 7 is staying humble. No one watching this video can claim to be greater than Jesus. He was perfect, but he was also humble, and people were attracted to him for this reason. So if you're humble, people will want to be around you. They'll enjoy your company, and if you're running a business, they'll want to work for you. So one of the things you can do to display humility is always give credit to others. Look for opportunities to elevate them and ask yourself, how is this person superior to me? Okay, principle number 8 is discipline. So one of the things that helped me during the early years of business was working on weekends and holidays when my competition took off. Those were the days I knew that I could get more done. And today, I'll do the exact same thing, and the mindset behind it is, if I stay disciplined now, I can relax later. For one, I'm younger now, and I've got a lot more energy. I'm not going to be young later, and most people I know tend to have less energy as they age. So I want to take advantage of my strength and energy now. Anyway, if you can be disciplined, and then you can also combine that with delayed gratification that we talked about earlier, you are going to be tough to beat. You'll be that guy or girl that nobody wants to go up against. And the nice thing here is you can be disciplined with very, very small things to start. It could be setting your alarm clock for 5:30 a.m. every morning. Then setting your alarm clock for 5:30 Monday through Friday and weekends. Next, it could be, I'm not going to eat sweets for the next month. Small things like that. The thing is, when you decide to be disciplined, it is going to be uncomfortable, but that's why it's called discipline. So what I would do is find the things that you know will help you in your life. I would write them down, and then I would stick to them. Over time, you are going to be happy with the results. That is consistent with every human being that has ever been disciplined and stuck to their plan. The last principle is being forgiving. I've made millions of mistakes over the years, some money related and others not money related. I regret all of them and think all the time, if I could go back in time and prevent them from happening, I would do so right now. But I don't have a time machine, so I can't do that. The thing that makes me beat myself up the most, though, is when I make a mistake that negatively impacts someone else. Like, those situations are when I lose sleep, kick myself, and it's just constantly on my mind. I feel like I'm carrying that. Now, imagine you do that. You make a mistake, it hurts someone else, you feel just horrible on the inside, but then you apologize and do everything you can to make that situation better. The person says, I forgive you, but I'll never forget this. How do you feel? Probably not that good. Would you ever want to make anyone else feel like that? No way. I've had friends and employees that have made mistakes that cost me a lot of money. And I've made mistakes that have cost people money, or call it peace of mind, on many occasions. But those same people who may have lost me money before, what I don't want to forget is they also made me a lot of money. So I don't want to forget about all the good that they've done just because I'm fixated on this one bad thing that they did. If someone makes an honest mistake, I'll address it. But then something I always try to do is focus on the entire body of work. For example, if you completed 100% of a project and 5% was wrong, and that's all I focused on and just disregarded all of the good, how do you feel? Like I'm a nitpicker. No, we don't want that. I want to focus on the good too. You see, if I make a mistake and someone corrects me, I appreciate it and then try not to do it again. I just don't want to make the same mistake twice. So again, Everyone makes mistakes, but the question is, do you want to be right or do you want to be free? Meaning, do you want to have peace of mind and not carry that resentment? So if you have a friend, family member, or business partner that makes a mistake, try to look at the entire body of work. Put yourself in their position and ask, how would I want to be treated? What feelings might I have if I made this same mistake? Especially if the mistake was not intentional or it was just a brain fog moment. And then once you do forgive the person, remember, it's in the past. Move on, don't bring it up again, because you probably don't like it when people bring up your mistakes. So those are my wealth principles. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, here's another one I think you'll enjoy as well.